Hello everybody, my name is Skylar and I'm a dietetic intern here with the Charge Group. As you may know, April is National Earth Month. The whole month of April is dedicated to protecting our environment and raising awareness on things that we can do to help reduce our carbon footprint. So today I'm going to be talking a little bit about food waste and offering some tips and tricks on how we can reduce our food waste, which ultimately will lead to reducing our carbon footprint. So to put food waste simply, food waste is any amount of food that is produced and that was not used or eaten. Therefore, it was thrown away or wasted and sitting in our landfills. So food globally, about 1/3 of the food produced globally is put to waste or sitting in a landfill. And even some sources are saying 1/2 of the amount of food produced globally is sitting in a landfill. So here in the US, as you might have guessed, we take our food for granted oftentimes, and we don't value our food as much as other countries may do sometimes. And therefore, we are overbuying our food, throwing our food away, not freezing or storing our food. We just kind of take it for granted, overbuying, overpurchasing, and that food ultimately ends up getting wasted. So to talk a little bit about statistics here in the US, they're kind of alarming. So 80 billion pounds of food are thrown away each year in the US. So that's 80 billion pounds of food just sitting in our landfills a year. And that results in $161 billion worth of food that was just wasted or thrown away. And a lot of times we think about grocery stores throwing away their food or restaurants throwing away their food and think, oh, not me, I try to eat my leftovers and things like that. But actually 40% of all of the country's food waste happens in our homes. So today I'm going to be talking a little bit about how we can reduce that number, because that number is still pretty alarming. So like I previously mentioned, we tend to over-purchase our food and impulse buy and just buy a lot more than what we really need. So what I like to recommend is meal planning. So planning your meals out for the week, planning your snacks out for the week, and also frequently going through your cabinets and your freezer and your fridge and seeing what types of foods you have, what foods have been sitting for a little bit, and then what meals you can create using those foods, so we kind of get them in our cycle and out of our cabinets before they start to go bad. And one thing that I always like to do is create a list that goes in accordance with that meal plan. So I already have those meals in my head, and now what do I need to make those meals happen? And I also keep this list in my kitchen all the time, just so I can continuously add to this list. And then when I am at the grocery store, I keep this list with me, and I try not to purchase anything that is not on the list. I try to stick to my list because I went through my house and I know that this is what I need, and anything else is just extra or something exciting that maybe I want to buy in that moment, but it'll get pushed to the back of the fridge or the back of the cabinet, and then I'll discover it a couple weeks later and end up throwing it away because it expired. So sticking to your list is really important to prevent over-purchasing. And I know sometimes our eyes can be a lot bigger than the reality or our stomachs. So just sticking to your list in order to prevent this over-purchasing, which leads to more waste. So now I want to talk a little bit about what we can do with the food that we've already purchased or the food that we already have in our homes. And the first thing I want to suggest, it's kind of a no-brainer, but it is Tupperware. Tupperware is going to be your best friend when preventing food waste. So of course Tupperware can be used after dinner to store your leftovers in the fridge that you can later on eat that week. And of course, when you're storing leftovers in the fridge, we only want to keep them in there for about 3 to 4 days before they go bad. So storing your leftovers in the fridge is a great option with the Tupperware, but with the Tupperware, what I like to do is use them for the freezer. So pretty much you can freeze about anything. So creating a soup or creating pulled pork or anything, storing it in these Tupperwares and keeping them in the freezer can prolong the life of that food for about like 3 to 4 months, which is awesome. And of course, Tupperware can come in multiple sizes. Usually with a big dish, you're going to want to find a bigger set of Tupperware, but Tupperware is going to be your best friend in preventing food waste. So next I wanted to talk a little bit about milk. Obviously milk is one of those things that doesn't have the longest life. So of course with milk, we don't want to drink spoiled milk, but when it is in our fridge for a little bit and we see that maybe it's going to expire in a day or two, I like to use an ice tray and fill my ice tray with milk. And then with these frozen milk blocks, I like to use them for my smoothies. So when I'm quick and on the go and need something to throw in my smoothie, I grab a couple of these milk blocks that are frozen and throw them in my smoothie, and it's a great way to add that creaminess and that frozenness to my smoothies. And I'm reducing that milk that I would have thrown away if I couldn't have drank it within that expiration date. Another thing that I like to do is with berries and things that come in a package like this. I know strawberries, for example, or blueberries or raspberries, they can tend to spoil pretty quickly. And they are pretty expensive, so I would hate to just throw away a whole thing of berries. And I love that they come in these containers, because with these containers, you can just throw the whole container in your freezer and preserve these for a couple more months than you would have with the fridge life. So freezing these berries, you can use them in your smoothies, like I mentioned with the milk, and it's a quick and easy option for your mornings that you're very busy. Another thing I wanted to mention is storing your fruit. Oftentimes when you store fruit together, the emissions from those fruits ripening can kind of like spread to each other and ripen those foods faster and longer. So like storing your bananas with your avocados or whatever, storing those fruits, they all kind of ripen together and resulting in them going bad quicker. So what I love is this banana rack that I have. It seriously prolongs my bananas' lives for like multiple days longer, because it kind of separates them from other fruits and separates them from themselves. So this keeps my bananas going better. But bananas, as you know, they do ripen pretty quickly. So that is something I also like to freeze along with like the berries. So a tip with freezing your bananas is peeling them first. It's really hard to peel the peel off of a frozen banana, so peel your bananas first. And if you're using them for a smoothie or something, slicing the bananas before you freeze them is also a great idea, because a frozen banana can be a little bit hard to slice. But along with freezing all your fruits and your pre-made dinners like soups and things, you can almost freeze anything. So you can freeze meat that you think may go bad soon. Just wrapping it up tightly and putting it in the freezer can prolong the shelf life of your meat for a long time, as well as things like breads can be frozen to prevent mold and to reduce and to increase that shelf life longer than they would just sitting out. Feel free to share in the comments your favorite way of reducing food waste in your household. Thanks, guys.